And just like James Bradbury's been a difference maker on the defense, this A.J. Brown has taken the Eagles' offense into another stratosphere. We got an hour of power down, an hour of power to go here on the JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. Click subscribe, all your show notifications, smash the like button. And yeah, I like me some Philadelphia women over Pittsburgh women in terms of the latest chat room conversation. A little bit more country out there in Pittsburgh. You know what I'm saying? A little bit more country out there in Pittsburgh. Just saying. Philadelphia woman will tell you like it is, says William Stark. But yeah, you got to be careful, you know, with the Philly girls and some of those South Jersey girls, because they'll also rough you up if you get out of line. It's a double chin strap affair when you date a Philly girl. I can tell you that. Adams exploits and Nick Walker can co-sign for that. All right. So, hey, an hour of power down, an hour of power to go. Tomorrow, Ed Kratz and Kayla Santiago checking in with your Bird Gang Talk Thursday. We have our good friend Dane Vandernat from the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl. We'll also have our good friend Chris Franklin checking up on the Eagles bye week from the North Star Ledger. We also have Jeffrey Chedita from NFL.com on Thursday. And then Football Friday. Woo! Buckle up. It's a triple chin strap affair on a Football Friday. We've got Coach Eugene Chung. We got Coach John DeFilippo. And we got my guy, Rhett from NFL Network, Rhett Ellison, will be checking in on the Football Friday affair. So, hey, you got RIC in a place to be Monday and Tuesday, but a star-studded lineup the rest of the way here on the Football Playbook. I just broke down my top 5 most valuable defensive players in the last segment. And we're going to break down my top 5 most valuable offensive players, which was a lot tougher, believe it or not. And on defense, I had Slay 1, Bradbury 2, Edwards 3, Reddick 4, and Jordan Davis 5. I get it. Davis doesn't start. He's only played about 30% of the snaps. But to me, he's a difference maker. Okay? It's not who's been the best player, but the most valuable player. And I think there's extreme value when Jordan Davis is on the field. That's some good stock right there to buy into. You're going to see more of it as the season wears on. Now, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, a lot of you want to put him in there. I get it. Big plays. He's had a lot of highlights. He's also had some lowlights. So Chauncey Gardner-Johnson didn't make it just because of the streaky up and down roller coaster ride, but he's worthy of the conversation. I could slide him in there and swap him out at 5 for Jordan Davis, but Jordan Davis, I just feel like this man doesn't get the kudos he deserves, so I wanted to show him some love. We did hear, surprisingly, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson has emerged as the number 1 trash talker on the team, and he's taken that title from Brandon Graham. And I forgot who it was. We talked about it. I can't remember this week or last week. It's all bleeding into one show, but we talked about the biggest trash talkers on the team and some of the teammates saying Chauncey Gardner-Johnson has got Brandon Graham and Darius Slay beat in the trash talking department. So he's number 1 in something, that's for sure. So, all right, let's switch gears to the offense and take a look at RIC top 5 most valuable, not the best, the most valuable players on the offense. And I'll start with the honorable mentions because it was tough. It was really, really tough. And when you take a look at your top 5 most valuable, not the best, most valuable players on offense, I'm sure we're going to get a lot of debates on this one because Number one runner-up, Dallas Goedert, doesn't crack the top 5. But Goedert has been the goater. He's been a goater at tight end. Goedert, this guy is the number one player in terms of yards after catch in the entire National Football League. Not just in tight ends, not just in receivers, but in the entire NFL. There's nobody better after the catch than Dallas Goedert. But he didn't make the cut. He didn't make the cut. Miles Sanders, we saw it a couple weeks ago, career high, 27 carries. What did he go off for, like $185? Had a really solid game again this past week. He's on pace. He's on pace for about 1,500 yards rushing or so. But Miles Sanders does not make the cut. Sorry. Just doesn't. I don't want to say he doesn't move the needle, but he doesn't make the cut. Not on my list. Devonta Smith doesn't make the cut. Sorry. Some really big wow games. Couple games where, he wasn't targeted so much. Couple mediocre games. No doubt about it, Devonta Smith is a top 5 player for the future moving forward with this organization. But not today, as I sit here on October 18th, 2022. Devonta Smith doesn't make the cut. That's because A.J. Brown does. A.J. Brown has been a dynamite addition. And just like James Bradbury's been a difference maker on the defense, this A.J. Brown has taken the Eagles' offense into another stratosphere. And Jalen Hurts' success can be directly attributed to the addition of A.J. Brown, because it's just changed the entire complexion of how to game plan and strategy for this offense. Now, some of the factors that went into this decision-making in terms of my top 5, is the impact, the way the defense has to game plan for you. And to me, outside of Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown is the single most player that opposing defenses have to game plan or account for or strategize against. And so I went diving. I went some deep sea fishing into the stats, and I said, hey, the targets, A.J. Brown, 53, Devonta Smith, 43, Dallas Goedert, 34. So Brown has been targeted most frequently. That's the number one target Jalen Hurts is looking for. And then I went and I looked. Who's got the most first down conversions? It's amazing to me. A.J. Brown has 33 catches for 503 yards and 2 touchdowns, and 23 of those 33 catches have gone for first downs. Wow. 23 out of 33? That's almost a 70 percentile. 7 out of 10 catches that A.J. Brown grabs are going for first downs. That's the kind of impact he's had through 6 weeks. So as good as Devonta Smith's been, as good as Miles Sanders has been, and as electrifying as Dallas Goedert has been, especially after the catch, they don't make the cut. A.J. Brown does. And the dynamic, he is the biggest, the baddest, the best Batman of the trio. 23 out of 33 catches for first downs. That's amazing. And I'll tell you this, I had to go and check. Like A.J. Brown, I think he had like 800 and something yards last year. His first 2 seasons in Tennessee, he did break the 1,000-yard barrier, but just barely. Just barely. A.J. Brown has never surpassed 1,100 yards. So he had 2 seasons of 1,000 yards receiving, but never has gone beyond 1,100. Here he is through 6 games. He's got 500 receiving yards. Whoa. He's on pace for like 1,500, 1,600 receiving yards. A.J. Brown's on pace for a career year. So 53 targets, 33 catches, 23 first downs for A.J. Brown. I think we're just going to call him First Down Brown. You like that? You like that kind of party here on the Football Playbook? That's what we do, chopping it up, breaking it down. We get wiggle with it on the Football Playbook. That's what the Eagles pass catchers do in the open field. Whether it's A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, we get wiggle with it, baby. Oh, yak. It's all about that yak. You won't find no Fugazi up in here, Alexander. No Fugazi on the Football Playbook. So I've got A.J. Brown at 5. And the reason why I couldn't sneak Goddard or Miles Sanders or Devonta Smith in there is because the offensive line is just such a staple of this offense. I mean, to me, the Eagles have, hands down, in my opinion, the best offensive line in the NFL. Just one man's opinion. Detroit, they looked pretty good. But I don't think anybody is on the same level as the Eagles. Kansas City, they've done a pretty good job of remaking that offensive line. Pretty good. But to me, the Eagles are just on another level. And that's why Lane Johnson is my number 4 most valuable player on the Eagles offense. This guy hasn't allowed a sack in 2 years? Whoa. Ric Serritella in the press conference yesterday called him the best right tackle on the planet. I would tend to agree. If you remember, in our short-lived history here on the Football Playbook back in August, I said it's bogus that Lane Johnson wasn't a top 100 player on that NFL Network list they do. I said, yo, how is the best right tackle in the National Football League not a top 100 player in the National Football League? It doesn't make any sense. Lane Johnson is the best right tackle in football. And you saw Jack Driscoll struggle with Micah Parsons a little bit there when Lane came out. Driscoll did good, but there was a drop-off. There. And Adams exploits, thank you for asking. There has not been an update on Lane Johnson's concussion yet. It was one of the first things Sirianni was asked about yesterday. He said, we don't have an update yet. But as I alluded to at the top of the show, you got to be concerned anytime you suffer a concussion. But his third one in 5 years, that's a little bit more significant. That's a little bit more serious than a first-time concussion. And that, to me, does put Lane Johnson's status in question for the Steelers. Even though it's 2 weeks away, with the recent fallout with this whole concussion protocol and the NFL, the NFLPA changing the process. There's this 5-stage process and protocol that teams have to get through. Yeah. To me, Lane Johnson, this is a big spotlight on the injury. But to me, he's the fourth most valuable player on this offense. And I do think there's a dip. There's a dip when Lane Johnson's not in it. We saw it with Driscoll last week. So Lane Johnson comes in at 4, A.J. Brown at 5. I missed Tone DeShields the second in the chat room, the private chat. 21 of 33 catches for Devonta Smith have also gone for first down. This whole receiving unit are just, call them the chain gang, because 23 out of 33 catches for A.J. Brown have gone for first downs. 21 of 33 for Devonta Smith have gone for first downs. And then Goddard, I think he's got like 23 catches. 17 of his catches have gone for first downs. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. When did Lane Johnson suffer the concussion? I think it was right before the first half, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to go back through my game notes. I'll try to clarify that after the next break. I think it was right before the first half. The cobwebs, don't quote me on that. The cobwebs, man. I just remember Driscoll and the speed of Micah Parsons was very overwhelming, and it was impressive. It stood out to me. But I think it was right before the first half. We'll clarify that. So to me, Lane Johnson is 4. And just like there's a drop-off, Mulata at 3, the left tackle. I mean, it's the most important position in football. And Jordan Mulata is one of the best in the game. Jordan Mulata, this guy's a stud, man. And we're going to have Eugene Chung on Friday, who, if you remember, back in the 2017 when Mulata was just a young buck, he was like a tadpole trying to grow some legs. And look at how he's evolved over the last 5 years. He's improved and made himself a premier, if not the premier left tackle in football. So to me, the most important position in football is your quarterback. The second most important position in football is your backup quarterback. After that, it's your left tackle. And after that, you can argue it's your right tackle. Back in the day in the NFL, left tackle used to be viewed as a more valuable position than right tackle. To me, they're almost equally important. The way the modern NFL has evolved and the way the modern NFL lines up pass rushers and they mix and they match and they line them up left and they line them up right. Right tackle is equally as important as left tackle, almost neck and neck. And Jordan Mulata has evolved into a premier left tackle in the National Football League. That means something. It means a lot. It means, to me, you're the number 3 most valuable offensive lineman. And yeah, that Monday Night Football, or the Sunday Night Football, Stoutland University was pretty cool, wasn't it? That was pretty cool. Stoutland University is putting 3 players in my top 5 on the map. Top 5 most valuable players on offense entering the bye week. Number 5, A.J. Brown. Number 4, Lane Johnson. Number 3, Jordan Mulata. And you say, Rick, well, if left tackle is the most important position in football, why is Jordan Mailata 3? If Jordan Mailata is arguably the top left tackle or premier left tackle in the NFL, how the heck is he number 3? Well, that's because you got a yellow jacket. Or as our good friend Bob Wiley likes to say, a blue ring. You got a future Pro Football Hall of Fame inductee at center. And for as much as Jalen Hurts is the leader, and I'll get into that in a second, Jalen Hurts is your unquestioned leader of the team, right? No question about it. But I'd have to say Jason Kelce's the heartbeat. Jason Kelce is the pulse. You ever notice when Jason Kelce speaks, everybody else perks up and listens? It's a rare kind of respect that very few, if any, centers ever earn inside a locker room. Very few centers that I can recall, Frank Winters maybe. I'm trying to think of all the great centers in the history of the National Football League. Very few centers can command that kind of presence, that kind of leadership, that kind of respect, right? Sean O'Hara was another good one. Jason Kelce's a great one. I don't know. I'll have to go back and check the mental archives. And there's a lot of draws to file through. I'm trying to think. This is my 21st year covering the NFL. My recollection goes back to the mid-'80s now. Trying to think, have I seen a better center in my lifetime than Jason Kelce? Who are the candidates? It's an interesting conversation. Maybe one I'll revisit later on down the road. But for the point of this conversation, Jason Kelce, to me, is the number 2 most valuable player, not just on the offense, but probably on the team. Because to me, he is the heartbeat. He is the pulse. And if you want a temperature on the Eagles locker room, just go to Jason Kelce. You want a pulse? You want to gauge your temperature? Go to Kelce's. He'll let you know. And you want breaking news? Go to Jason Kelce. He's the one, if I recall correctly, he's the one, he gave us the heads up that Dillard would be activated about 2 or 3 days before the rest of the media. Oh, by the way, he may have let the cat out of the bag again after the game. He said, hey, it might make sense for Dillard to just focus on one side of the ball in his return. He was active on Sunday, Dillard was. But they didn't need to call him in. They might need to call him in against Pittsburgh. If Lane Johnson's out, you could see Dillard be focused on that right side. The Kelce bros, both of them, future Hall of Fame inductees. Yes, I agree, William Stark. I have not yet caught an episode of their podcast, however. I think last press conference, Kelce said their podcast episode was like 90 minutes long. I got enough homework assignments here on the Football Playbook to keep up with. I just haven't found the time in my day to secure 90 minutes to listen to the Kelsey Bros. I'm hoping that I do. Just like I'm hoping that I get down to the Ocean Casino Resorts Gallery pre and post game one of these days. Go join the gang down there. Just like I'm trying to get out to the Gail Saunders legendary tailgate, and he sent me the text. He sent me the invite this week. What they were in lot C2. Man, what they got like surf and turf, filet mignons. They got lobsters. That Gail Saunders knows how to pregame tailgate. Trying to find my way. And I'm trying to find my way to a Kelsey Brothers podcast episode one of these weeks. So A.J. Brown at 5, Lane Johnson at 4, Jordan Mailata at 3, Jason Kelsey at 2. And yeah, I mean, is there any question who's number 1? Come on, son. Listen, guys. Jordan Mailata came out and said, this guy, Hurts, is the unquestioned leader of the team. He said he's the ultimate leader. Doesn't matter who you are. Rookie, veteran, stud, or in between. Jalen Hurts is going to hold you accountable. And his demeanor, the 17-round heavyweight championship fight mantra that Ric Serritella preaches, it starts and funnels down from Jalen on down. This guy, man, for all the flack, for all the criticism that he took all summer long and continues to take still 6 weeks into the season. Do you know there's people questioning whether or not Jalen Hurts is a franchise quarterback still? Well, let's take a look. He's completed 123 of his 184 pass attempts. That's good for 67%. 66.8 to be exact, which last time I checked, pretty good improvement over last year, 61.3%. That signals pretty good improvement. Okay? Now, he's got 1,500 passing yards through 6 games. Do the math. Jalen Hurts is on pace for 4,500 passing yards. Pretty good. Pretty good. I think he had 3,000 last year. Now, last year, Jalen averaged 7.3 yards per pass attempt. This year, 8.2. Pretty good improvement. Almost a whole yard per pass attempt. Pretty good improvement, if you ask me. So completion percentage has improved. Passing yardage has improved. Passing yardage per attempt has improved. Now, last week, the knock was, hey, Jalen only has 4 touchdown passes. How could he be a franchise quarterback with just 4 touchdown passes? Well, he added a pair against the Cowgirls this past week. 6 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions on the season. Pretty good. Pretty good. He's got 1 interception every 92 attempts. 4th best in the NFL. And we talked about, statistically speaking, historically good. 1 every 50 pass attempts for his career is 13th in the NFL all time. Historically speaking, this guy does not commit turnovers. So that would put him on pace for like 17 or 18 touchdowns, maybe 6 or 7 interceptions. That would be improvement on his touchdown to interception ratio of a year ago, 16-9. His rating, I think, was somewhere around 84 last year. This year, 98.4. Again, improvement across the board, guys. Every single category. You want to go off the field stats and tangibles? I don't know if there's been a better quarterback in the NFL than Jalen Hurts. And that's why he's my number one. Number one most valuable player on your Eagles. And the top 3 most valuable candidate in the NFL. And that's because you do have to take into account his rushing production. The one stat I don't like through 6 games is 77 rushing attempts, because that's almost more than half of his season total from a year ago. He ran the ball 139 times last year for 784 yards. That was a 5.6 rushing average, and he had 10 rushing touchdowns. This year, 77 for 293, 3.8 yards per carry. A lot of that because of the short yardage. 6 touchdowns. So he's on pace for close to 1,000 yards rushing, about 15 rushing touchdowns. So, yeah, I mean, that's the one number that I don't like. 77 rushing attempts. That would put him on pace for about 225 rushes. That's a lot of hits. That's a lot of accumulation of hits. And yeah, William Stark. Stats are stats. But it is the intangibles that puts Jalen Hurts over the edge. No doubt about it. But you got to measure something. And another thing that Nick Sirianni and company are doing during the bye week, they're having preliminary conversations. The discussion is there. Hey, what's Jalen's contract looking like? What's that guaranteed number looking like? How many years are we going to offer Jalen in the offseason? That conversation is happening right now as we speak. It's being thought about. It's being talked about. And it's not a matter of if they decide Jalen Hurts is a franchise quarterback. No. It's a matter of how much are they willing to go? How much are they willing to offer? I think those numbers are being calculated this week. I'm going to take a quick commercial break. Before we do, Frank Gradia, welcome to the show, says, what's your answer to Cowgirls fans saying they would have won with Dak at quarterback? Well, my answer is, come see me Christmas Eve. Come see me Christmas morning, and we'll find out. Because there will be no more time for excuses come the second go around. It'll be in Big D. You'll have your franchise quarterback back in the saddle. Okay. Philadelphia could ask, what would the score look like with a healthy offensive line? What does the score look like then? So it goes both ways. What's it look like? We'll find out. See me on Christmas morning. That's my answer to the Cowgirls. Come see me on Christmas. And I hate to tell you, William, I think you're going to see the Cowgirls a third time come January. I think you'll see them late December, and I think you'll see them again come January. Hey, Ric Serritella here. you out there. This is the Football Playbook. It's our 36th episode. Make sure you hit the like button, click subscribe. JAKIB Sports YouTube channel. We got Sports Take coming up at noon. But first, we're going to take a quick commercial break, pay some bills. When we come back, I got notes on notes on notes in the Football Playbook. Talk about that Ric Serritella press conference, some of the Eagles who met with the media. We got Monday Night Football notes. I got NFL news and notes from around the league. So don't go anywhere. Keep it locked. Keep it cranking in the chat room. We'll be back right after this.